distinguished invitees, friends. It's a pleasure for me to participate in this prestigious India Today conclave. And thank you for giving me the honor of being part of this event. Much has been spoken at this conclave and elsewhere about the Asian century. Policymakers, academics, the media and experts in their respective fields continue to dwell at length whether the 21st century will be dominated by Asian politics and culture, and as to how leadership can be given to achieve such an outcome for the benefit of our region. It is in this context that this panel has been tasked with deliberating the topic of whether dynasty is a burden or a boon in South Asia, a region which has a vital role to play in the unfolding Asian century. We need to focus our attention to this subject from another perspective as well, that is the unfolding Asian century. Asia has emerged as a global powerhouse. The advanced economies no longer look at Asia as poverty-stricken land with famine and misery. Further, the leading economies in the world today are geographically connected in Asia. I come from a country which suffered immensely from brutal terrorism for nearly 3 decades. The suffering undergone by our people cannot be quantified. Although my country was one of the pioneering Asian economies in removing barriers to global trade, investment and financing, in order to become a vibrant global partner in economic development, it could not exploit its fullest potential, owing to terrorism that crippled our society's fabric and economic fundamentals. Since November 2005, my country, under the visionary leadership of President Mahinda Rajapaksa, who hails from a deep-rooted politically and culturally rich family, with an affiliation to political activism in human rights, trade unions, and rural farmers, embarked on an economic development strategy, laying a foundation for rapid development within the global framework. Today, 7 years after President Rajapaksa has assumed in office, Sri Lanka enjoys a relatively sophisticated all-island infrastructure network. This has been possible primarily due to the ending of 30 years long conflict under his administration. This has enabled him to unify the country on a single platform theme, that is rapid, inclusive development along with equal access to development opportunities in the country. His administration has paved the way for people to be able to express their views in a free and democratic Sri Lanka. His government has resettled almost all displaced people with adequate livelihood support. The Government of India, among other bilateral and multilateral development partners, played a pivotal role in this effort by extending generous support for infrastructure development and resettlement initiatives in the affected areas. Sri Lanka has witnessed over 8% growth for 2 consecutive years, following 6% annual growth over the first 5-year period ending 2009, and remains buoyant for the 3rd consecutive year, despite global economic uncertainty. All economic fundamentals remain favorable. Food security has been ensured, with the country being able to generate surplus of rice production. Highest priority has been accorded to promote energy security as well. It has embarked on a rapid development process in export, production of goods and services. Complementing the key sectors in the economy, country's comparative advantage in the port and aviation sector is being fully exploited, with the development of new port and airport in the south of the country, while also developing other ports and airports in the country to ensure global connectivity in trade, aviation, and tourism. Overall, the development strategy of Sri Lanka aimed to raise the country's per capita income around $5,000 by 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, despite all economic fundamentals shifting in favor of Asia, our countries are unique in one sense. We all have long-standing culture and traditional values. In transformation towards a modern world must be navigated while preserving of the two fundamental principles. One is the preservation of our culture, traditions, and the value system, which will nurture us in a multiple framework with mutual respect, care, love, and compassion. The other is the conservation of our environment. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the youngest parliamentarian in the parliament elected in 2010. I'm proud of this achievement for another reason. My father too was the youngest member in the 1970 parliament of Sri Lanka and as a lawyer like myself. Coincidentally, a cousin of my father had also been the youngest to enter parliament in his time. Before my father, my grandfather, his brother, and his children too had entered parliament, beginning their public service from as far back as 1936. In that sense, I represent the third generation of politicians of the Rajapaksas. Friends, all of us have had to contest in highly competitive elections to enter parliament. I'm also proud that I have entered politics in an era that my country enjoys expressways, aviation ports hubs, IT-based activities, buoyant tourism, new generation banking and financing, and a strong construction industry providing support for growth. Our country envisages a sports economy and a knowledge-based economy, reflecting synergies of new aspiration of my generation. I believe that the distinguished panelists would agree that one's success or failure in politics in a democracy where regular elections are held depends largely on how one chooses to chart on his own course. Merely belonging to a political family will not ensure that one would succeed in politics continuously, especially in a present context of an active media and even more active civil society. Democracy, as you all know, is a form of governance with specific institutions and a state governed by elected representatives. A dynasty, in contrast, typically denotes a series of rulers who belong to the same family, or a succession of powerful people from the same family, according to the rules of that family. In a functioning democracy, my friends, representatives are elected by the vote of the people for a specific term. Therefore, merely by belonging to a family of politicians, one does not inherit office through succession. One of the common benefits of being part of a political family, although short-lived, is a comparative ease perhaps of being able to receive nomination from a party to contest election. But the reason I say that this is a short-lived benefit is because although one may win an election the first time around, there is no absolute guarantee of re-election. The decision lies in the hands of the people. As a young person, I felt strongly and passionately that as a member of a political family, I could play a useful, important and meaningful role in giving voice to the youth of our country, revive their dreams, engage in nation building and healing our fractured land. I want to see the youth of my country rise to rebuild our nation and to strengthen institutions that are essential for democracy, that have become weakened as a result of the conflict. Our dream is to see youth of our country strive towards excellence in all fields and demands no less than the best from the public service. This window of opportunity must be seized by our youth to take the country onto a different path, to build a nation that is robust and resilient. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, let me reiterate the theme of the India Today conclave. A nation century securing the global promise. We in Sri Lanka are gearing for this century, a century of promise for one new generation. The gratitude we could show our parents and grandparents for sacrifices made during their lifetime is to preserve our heritage, culture, value system, and environment. I hope this conclave will propagate the new vision of Asia for greater collaboration, partnership, and unity. Thank you.